Good morning, honorable members and colleagues. Good morning. Can we get settled so that we can start? We are a little bit behind schedule, but we hope to catch up as soon as we start. I don't think it will take that too long. I hope everyone is well and you have rested from a hectic engagement of yesterday. It was quite fruitful, and I hope the commissions, I'm informed, they did a very good job. We will be getting feedback later from all the three commissions. But before that, we will invite the acting speaker to once more do a welcome to all the new guests. There are other new guests that are joining us today and others who have been here yesterday. So we are proceeding from yesterday. Fortunately or unfortunately for others, they would have missed the AU anthem and the national anthem. This particular law that we have just adopted in this particular summit. And thank you very much also for Sizwe for the presentation that he made on behalf of the commission. I think as a team here, we can really acknowledge the good work that the commission has done and give them a resounding round of applause once more. And we will not be taking any questions or discussions. You'll remember that these commissions came out of also the discussions that we had yesterday after the presentations that were made, including the opening address by the speaker and the keynote address by the MEC, as well as the presentation by Ms. Mashabana, who is an expert on ethics. So we'll be taking all these particular concerns raised from the report as well as the recommendations into a formal adoption that we'll be doing this afternoon, and ensuring that going forward these issues are taken forward in terms of implementation. And when we meet again next year, we'll be reflecting as to how far have we managed to implement some of these particular issues that came out of this particular report. So I will be inviting the Commission 2 that was tasked with the responsibility to engage around the issues of media and responsible reporting and the threat of misinformation. The committee would have been led by Honorable Skosana, and I'm told Honorable Mahlabe will be the one who will be presenting on behalf of the commission. So I will be inviting Honorable Mahlabe to take us through in terms of the discussion as well as the recommendation from this particular commission. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Ralph. Let me greet the acting speaker, honorable members, and the entire team. As a commission, we were actually tasked to engage the issue of media in terms of responsible reporting and the threat of misinformation. Now, this discussion was actually engaged from a broader perspective and understanding the role of the media under the democratic dispensation, and as well as historical factors that comes with the legacy of apartheid. We then said, let us be objective in engaging the topic so that we are not seen to be biased or coming from a particular school of thought. The overall problem statement was that disinformation, misinformation, and propaganda all have associated meanings as fake news. Their overall aim is to influence people's opinion. Moreover, fake news is not necessarily to make one believe in lies, but to persuade that everyone lies, and there is no truth, or perhaps there are alternative truths or alternative facts. Taken together, fake news establishes a fake cloud of vivid plural truth, which does not need proof, knowledge expert, or even logic. The guiding questions that acted as scaffoldings to our deliberations were: A, what is the primary role of the media? B, what is ethical reporting? C, to what extent can misinformation become a threat to public policy formulation? D, who are the main actors in ensuring public trust? E, what measures should be put in place in mitigating misinformation? F, the impact of media ownership in South Africa and formulation of the perception of society. In terms of the respondent, Advocate Ntebe offered a sound engagement of the problem statement that was laid out by the head discussant. She shared that the information ecosystem has changed, as the information ecosystem not only has old media platforms, but due to increase in the global flows of information. This has subsequently led to the large spread of information disseminated by journalists, influencers, podcasters, etc. The increase in the awareness of false information emanates from these greater flows of information. And the greater flows of information we're speaking to here are the different platforms, especially in the space of social media, where lately you get bombarded by self-proclaimed journalists who appear as podcasters and many other forms who are not necessarily regulated by any form of regulation. These then affects the morals and ethics that should underpin reporting. Advocate Ntebe took us through the legislative prescript that govern the press freedom and associated obligations, and the self-regulating bodies that media houses belong to. Ethical reporting must be accurate, based on facts, and free from fabrication or exaggeration. I don't know to what extent can you manage that. Ethical reporting requires objectivity and usage of multiple sources, and the journalist must be able to analyze what is given by their sources. And we shall all agree, colleagues, that lately you get a lot of cut and paste reporting, where journalists do not take the time out to investigate, analyze, or even verify the information that they process. For media reporting to be ethical, greater attention must be placed on issues of ulterior motives. Journalists need to uphold the integrity of the media house they are representing and act professional. There is no integrity if there is no accountability. An element of humanity, ubuntu, is needed by journalists when carrying out their work so that they don't cause undue harm. On this matter of undue harm, we actually said sometime when people do reporting, they take it as an academic exercise and forget that it has got far-reaching implications that would affect even families of the individuals that they are reporting about. Not only that, sometimes it can have a long-term damaging effect to a point that when the truth is established, the damage is far-reaching. And they don't necessarily come back to say, we had reported wrongly here, and this is the truth that has emanated at a later stage. There are pitfalls of misinformation. As a result, in the erosion of public trust element, we have been programmed to not question the media, caution it, or caution is needed to distill sensationalization or sensationalism and agenda-setting methods. Politicking during moments of crisis is unethical. I can never overemphasize that. Politicking in space of, let me repeat it. Politicking during moments of crisis is unethical. And we've seen this in most cases where you find that a child has died or some tragic incident took place, but politics, they overcome the events of what has happened. Moreover, Advocate Ntebe shared the dangers of falling victim of disinformation and how to navigate a redemptive pathway. The rich engagements echoed the unfortunate reality of the digital age where lies travel faster than the truth. And participants called for the concerted effort for media accuracy. The need to increase public trust in the media was raised, and how the media should remain balanced and ethical in its reporting. Engagements covered the need for a diverse media, which is also independent because of the ramification of political agenda setting by powerful media owners. It's not for the common good. The media's role, which is to inform, educate, and entertain, was deliberated on. Moreover, the discussion also covered how those in leadership should understand the power of media to hold them accountable to their promises. As the media is not only a public relations platform, it is also a watchdog. The issue of those that have close proximity to the media as informants acting unethical by weaponizing their access, further highlighting unethical behavior and also bring into question media ownership in South Africa. The panel discussion concluded on the following. We agreed that on the need to decolonize the media. I think that is for historical reasons. 2, the need of media education, specifically curriculum development in schools. An honest reflection on the impact of media ownership on distorting the national agenda. 4, the need to regulate the media through lawmaking, regulating of the spaces like podcasts and so forth. 5, instilling a culture of ethical reporting. 6, media summit is needed with journalists and communication practitioners. 7, leaders should understand that the media is not public relations tool, but it is also a watchdog. 8, the protection of whistleblowers, ethical reporting on whistleblowers. 9, which is the last point, media reporting is also dependent on country's political system, who's in power at a given moment. We made an example, as I conclude, of the situation in the US. Like, for instance, you would know that reporting will go in a particular way depending on who is the incumbent in terms of the leading of the country. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Matlawe, for representing Commission 2 on the topic around the media and responsible reporting, looking at issues of misinformation. I mean, these are quite serious issues. We often see breaking news headlines, but when it's time for an apology, they never ever make breaking news or even headlines. So an apology is distorted somewhere where not many would even read it or even see it. So it's part and parcel of the issues that we need to engage around, and we really welcome, I think, the recommendations from the Commission, and I think they will be carried forward. And as a team, we need to again ensure that these issues they don't end here. I think the various speakers would have indicated, we need to spread this message throughout and make sure that the issues that are discussed here, they find resonance even in other spaces within our society. Issues of ethics are quite serious in terms of ensuring that we have a better South Africa and a better Gauteng and better municipalities in Gauteng as well. So I think I will also request that we give them another resounding applause. And without, again, waste of time, I'll call the last commission represented by Honorable Abrams, who will present the report from the commission, including the issues that the commission has raised, as well as the recommendation from that commission, which was looking at the topic service delivery and ethical justice in South Africa. Over to you, Honorable Abrams.
Greetings to my learned colleagues, greetings to the Deputy Speaker, greeting to the MMCs and the Speaker of the municipalities. Thank you again once more for the opportunity was given yesterday to chair the Commission on Service Delivery and Ethical Justice within South Africa. I want to start off by mentioning two quotes that we have identified yesterday. One being the political will, and the other being everybody has a price. If you look at the political will, it's got to do where we, as the Ethical Council, merged with the Ethical Council, as the Committee of Ethics and Privileges, need to ensure that the government promises and service delivery does not just remain on paper, but it is actually executed. This document consolidates the key points raised and formalized into a set of resolutions to guide our collective efforts in building a more ethical, just, and service-orientated South Africa. Most importantly is that everybody has a price. We've got a government that's running laws, policies. However, our societies are forgotten at the end. Our shared diagnosis, we were very honored with the presence of Reverend Solomon Mabuza yesterday, and also receiving his input and also his guidance as to being the chairperson of the Ethics Council in the way going forward. The summit unanimously identified the core challenges undermining service delivery and ethical justice in South Africa. The first point, which we really forget, is a crisis of trust. And that is being caused by the disconnect between government promises and the grassroots reality. And that grassroots reality emanates back to our youth. That is very much forgotten. The culture of impunity, where non-compliance and corruption are tolerated and just been shoved under the table or under the carpet. Because remember, under the table they get the brown envelopes, right? Under the carpet is where they hide everything. And consequent management is ineffective and is very slow. Service delivery is not a priority, as we are realizing that, and we see it on a daily basis. So ethical behavior on service delivery, it needs to be seen and not just spoken into the air. The dysfunctional processes and systems within the municipalities. We understand, as a committee, we understand the frustrations the municipalities have, because there is actually no support currently given to the officials, because they are still governed by processes, inadequate systems, and a norm of power mongers who is just there for positions and not there on service delivery. And that is where every day, every person, every official start having a price on themselves. Categorizing by card trade deployment is a broker tender system and government entities working in silos. Hence, it is so important that the tender system needs to be made away. There should not be any tenders. I mean, all of us were stuck to our TVs until 2 o'clock this morning, isn't it? The updates. I would have loved to go for a massage in that 900 million mansion. We all know who we're talking about. But it's sad reality. Sad reality. How many lives was lost? How many nurses, doctors are currently sitting at home? But let me not, I can stand here for hours about that. Anyway. The erosion of dignity. Our communities are suffering. Our communities are broken every single day due to poor service delivery. A small basic service, a small human right, such as water, is becoming a problem. For certain people, they don't have the confidence in opening a tap. Hence, it is profound injustice to our society. And the sad reality is the government just pull a face, a mask over themselves of none care, blaming it on we will look into it or we will report back or always excuses. That is very, very sad. Young people are demanding fairness, transparency, and a genuine seat at the table. Why can't all be at the table, especially our youth? But as things are running now and what we are experiencing is that our youth are becoming despondent. It is our responsibilities as public representatives to continue and giving them the hope and start by us. Charity starts at home as an individual. That we need to be ethical, we need to be honest with ourselves, and we need to keep the relevant people accountable. The resolutions on action, based on the summit's deliberation, we hereby adopt the following resolution. Overall governance and leadership. We resolve to champion a system of governance where accountability is tangible and leaders is exemplary. Advocate to the end of cadre deployment and its replacement with a transparent, merit-based system of appointments of all public officials. Yesterday, in my debate yesterday, I've mentioned, with experience of 20 years in the corporate system, there's a reason why there are KPIs. We need to start implementing KPIs. We need to. We need to start cleaning the house first, and cleaning the house first is right here in our current employment. Implement accelerated and effective consequence management for financial mismanagement and ethical breaches with public visible outcomes. Our societies, our public is in total dark, in a total dark. They don't know what's happening. They don't understand when the high English is being spoken. We need to stop putting ourselves on a pedestal and start serving our oath that we've taken out as a public representative. Strengthen the capacity of municipal councils by deploying additional skilled professionals and providing mandatory training for councillors. We can't just appoint a public representative and we don't give the relevant support or the relevant training or the continuous mentorship. Urgent establish a robust and secure whistleblower protection systems to encourage the exposure of corruption. With that said, I probably can still go another 20 minutes, but I won't do that. The path forward is a mechanism of implementation, and the reason why I'm saying that, I will skip a few because I will be submitting this document, because we, as the commission yesterday, we were very passionate, we were very honest, we were very, we were actually not sitting there as oppositions, we were sitting there as human beings yesterday, crying out for our societies and our communities. And we really want to take that oath in working with the Ethics and Privilege Committee and the department as well, in executing mechanisms going forward. Monitoring systems on annual review basis from the top management up to the officials that needs to be implemented. Legislative review. We need to implement the legislative review and take the relevant bodies with reviewing and proposing amendments to the legislation as well. The political will is where we collectively call upon all political leaders to demonstrate the necessary political will to prioritize ethical governance over party loyalty. The dialogue is ended, the work now begins. Each delegate was entrusted and is entrusted with the responsibility to be an ambassador for these resolutions within their respective sectors. Let us move forward with the courage and conviction to build the just, transparent, and equitable South Africa of all our people. And in closing, I've got a letter that the Reverend shared yesterday with us, and it was very touching. It is from a very young man. And the letter is just as he sent it to the Reverend. And I want to read this because this is a cry out from the youth, our future leaders. And the topic was on our topic yesterday, the service delivery on ethic justice in South Africa. Honorable guest, I'm reading it as his letter is. Honorable guest leaders and fellow citizens, good morning. It is an honor to speak on behalf of the youth about matters that shape and define the future of our nation. Service delivery, ethics, and justice in South Africa. Across the country, young people wake up to communities without clean water, schools without proper resources or infrastructure, and clinics that cannot meet basic needs. Service delivery is not just a governmental function. It is the foundation of our identity, our dignity, and our hope. But why is it that the youth of South Africa, the very heartbeat of this nation, continue to face these struggles? Why must the next generation of leaders grow up in a system that fails to provide the most basic services? And most importantly, what can we do to fix them? The truth is that poor service delivery does not exist in isolation. It is often a reflection of weak accountability, mismanagement, and a lack of ethical leadership. When ethics fail, service delivery collapses. Every rand lost to corruption is a classroom unfinished, a clinic unequipped, and a young life left waiting. Ethical justice must be the heartbeat of our democracy, because without ethics, justice becomes hollow and promises become empty. But promises must be met with solutions to rebuild trust and efficiency. We must open the doors of accountability wider than ever before. Let us empower communities, especially young people, to take part in monitoring local projects and tracking progress transparently. Let every community know how budgets are spent, who is responsible, and what change will arrive. Let us use technology to shine a light where corruption hides through open data, public reporting, and innovation that connects citizens to the service meant for them. Our government should not fail the youth. It should empower the youth. The youth are not asking for favors. We are asking for fairness. We are asking for a brighter, equal, and sustainable future. We are asking for what should already be guaranteed: the right opportunity, dignity, and progress. We don't want to work against the government. We want to work with the government. We bring energy, digital skills, creativity, and a hunger, so profound, a hunger for change. But we need a system that listens, not a system that silences. A system that acts, not one that delays. A system that builds, not one that dismantles through corruption and inefficiency. To achieve this, we must invest in ethical leadership from the ground up. Ethics should not be a chapter in a textbook. It should be a culture we live by. Let us teach integrity, service, and civic responsibility in our schools. Let every young South African understand the leadership is not about power, but about purpose and people. Ethical justice means leadership that serves the people, not personal or political interests. It means creating a government that is accountable, transparent, and fair. A government that delivers equality to every community, regardless of status of connection. It means returning the next generation of leaders who are driven by values, not vanity, by service, not self-interest. Everything starts with the youth. The future begins with the youth. We are not only the leaders of tomorrow, we are the change makers of today. If South Africa is to move forward, it must invest in us. A quality education, a sustainable job creation, and a system that are built on integrity. Let us build South Africa where service delivery is driven by integrity, where justice is guided by ethics, and where every policy reflects our shared humanity. Let us ensure that leadership is about service, not status, about impact and not influence. The youth are ready to lead, ready to serve, ready to build our nation with honesty and purpose. Thank you. So this is the letter that was sent without even the commission sitting yesterday. Thank you, Reverend, for sharing this with us. And this letter has just been our motivation and our courage to keep the relevant people accountable and moving forward. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Abrams, for the presentation of Commission 3 as report, and I will not necessarily try and summarize. I think you did a very good job in terms of ensuring that you gave us a full story, the whole picture of what the Commission would have really had a discussion about, and what are they recommending going forward. And I will request that we also give them another round of applause. And that was our last report from the commissions, and from here onwards, in terms of our program, we are going to be taking a tea break, but just few announcements as we are going for the tea break. We will be going to commissions after the tea break. So we also request that everyone use the opportunity during the tea break. Those that have not checked out, those that slept here, they can use that opportunity to ensure that they are able to check out in the hotel. And we have 4 commissions. So from the tea break, we are going straight to commissions. We are not coming back to plenary. As I said, we have got 4 commissions. The first commission will be engaging around the topic of integrity dynamics of lawmaking in the legislative sector. That commission will be based in this same room. This is the silver leaf room. The room is going to be divided into 2, so 2 commissions are going to be into this same space. The commission will be led by our Integrity Commissioner, Koko Mashego, and the respondent will be Joseph Hendrik Bretz. The other members of the commission will be Honorable Mkwanazi, Honorable Kawa, Honorable Modikeng, and Honorable Swart. As this is the GPL Mkwanazi. Yeah, so that we clarify and draw that distinction. So, Councillor Mudikeng, Councillor Swart, Councillor Arnolds, Mr. Makamba, Councillor Masha will also be in that same commission, and like we did yesterday, the commission will also have colleagues that will be supporting, that is amongst others, our officials, administrators, researchers, legal advisors, and you know, so the commission will be indeed having quite a lot of support in terms of ensuring that they are able to also summarize their report and able to present in the afternoon when we resume at plenary. And the next commission will be the one that will be dealing with regulating the integrity of artificial intelligence in the health sector. That commission will also be in the same room, but will, like I said, will divide Others, I think there will be more in the far left at the back, and others will be on my right, a little bit forward in front of the room. The commission will be led by Councillor Mashabela, and the respondent will be MEC Nkomo Ralohuku, MEC for Health. And members of the commission will be Honorable Skosana, Honorable Delebo, Honorable More, Honorable Ndlovu, Councillor Muhuse, Councillor Tileko, and Mr. Nkoko, Mr. Makondo, Mr. Mataha, and with the supporting team that will also be designated to that particular commission. Like I said, they will also be based in the same room. And the next one is the commission that will be dealing with the topic of making political party funding make ethical sense. That commission will be at the beach breakaway room, which is just as you exit this door. Yeah, I hope they have costumes so that they can swim along on the topic. The commission will be led by Honorable Advocate Anton Alberts and Honorable Evans. The respondent will be Mr. George Mahlangu from the Electoral Commission, and Honorable Mfikwe, Honorable Mkhobe, Honorable Nyati, they will also be in that commission. Councillor Munyai, Ms. Mashabane from the Ethics Institute, Advocate Ndebe from COJ, as well as Ms. Lebisa, Mr. Makam, and Ms. Mashabane, I think she's written twice. She will also be in that particular team or commission at the beach room. There's a breakaway room just outside. And the last commission will be the one that will be engaging on core governing and regulating of lobbying in the public service. The commission will be based at the Jacaranda breakaway room. It's also just on my far, as you exit the door, you turn to the left. The commission will be led by Honorable Ngobeni and Honorable Ntseke. The respondents are two as well, is Mr. Mabuza and Mr. Mavuso from the Public Service Commission, and Honorable Nkani, Honorable Mahlabe, Councillor Hazen, Mnyamane, Mnyameni, yeah, Mnyameni, yes, and Councillor Mpevu, Mr. Mazibugo, Councillor McLaughlin, and Councillor Tlakane, Mr. Malachi, and Honorable Gentile will join that commission. And similarly with all the other commissions, there will be a team of support, including researchers that will be supporting that particular commission. All commissions will have at least 1.5 hours to deliberate and conclude their report. So we are expected to break for lunch around 12:30. But I guess it's up to the team leaders in those commissions that must make sure that the commissions conclude on time. We are expected to resume at plenary in this same hall at 1:30. So we'll have 1 hour lunch, and depending on how much time each commission also conclude their commission. So exactly at 13:30, we'll be starting with presentations from all the 4 commissions. I must also indicate that the presentations from yesterday and today, including the reports from various commissions, will also be shared. So don't be worried if you have not received a copy. I know some might have been trying to take notes. The rapporteurs would have done a summary, so you'll get a full reports from all the commissions, and we'll also have obviously a session at the end of all the presentation where we are going to adopt, our resolutions as for this particular summit. So thank you very much, honorable members and colleagues. At least I've saved 5 more minutes. You can have tea break earlier. It's almost 10 minutes until 5 past. We're going straight to commissions at 5 past 11. Yeah, 5 past 11. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed your lunch. After so much work, I was informed that this is not going to be a graveyard shift because the commissions has done a lot of work, so you'll be intrigued and wanting to hear exactly what they're coming up with, what they're proposing going forward, and what they're presenting as recommendations. And it's not going to be long sessions, and we are glad that the commissions has adhered to the request to have a short report. And like we said, we will share the full report. So the expectation is that the rapporteurs do a summary of the report in the main focus on the issues, concerns raised, as well as recommendations that will take us forward. In that way, we'll then be able to stick to the 5 minutes allocated. We have 4 commissions, and we'll start with Commission 1 that was led by our Integrity Commissioner, Koko Mashego, who will come forward with the report from the team. And like I said, the report will be shared. Earlier on, we tried to be a bit more lenient with time, and I see now we're just 10 to 2, and I'm informed that there's quite a number of honorable members and colleagues who are preparing to ensure a full support to our Bafana team this afternoon. So I was requested that we make sure that we finish on time so that we can actually go and change into our yellow gears, jerseys, to support the national team and make sure that they qualify for the World Cup. These are the last 2 games that is left, so we have no option but to win all the games that are remaining. Over to you, Integrity Commissioner. It's, yeah, no. These are real traps, eh? No, thank you. Over to you.
Good afternoon, honorable members. Let me start also by recognizing our chairperson of the Public Privileges and Ethics Committee, who is the acting deputy, who is the acting speaker, but she is our deputy speaker. I have it correct. Thanks. I had a quick lunch, so the food is still digesting, that is why. Yes, and honorable members, thank you very much for this opportunity. I was the discussion head in the integrity dynamics of lawmaking in the legislative sector, and the respondent was Honorable Joseph Bretz. Just for us to set the tone, I will summarize the heads of discussions, and then what we have done with the team is to turn the concerns that were raised in the committee into resolutions. So we're not necessarily going to go into the concerns themselves. Legislative ethics refers to the principles and standards that guide the behavior of lawmakers and legislators in their official capacities. It encompasses a range of ethical considerations, including transparency, accountability, and the avoidance of conflicts of interest. Because as a commission, we believe that once politicians are conflicted, then decision-making becomes difficult, and the actions that they will take will not be in the public interest. So at all times, we encourage members of the legislature, members of council, parliamentarians, not to put themselves in situations that would be tantamount to conflicts of interest. Understanding legislative ethics is paramount for ensuring processes that maintain integrity and public trust. Legislators, as custodians of the Constitution and citizens' interest, must uphold integrity, honesty, and transparency in the lawmaking process. The importance of personal integrity was also emphasized. Legislators must always conduct themselves with dignity in order to uphold the office they hold and to promote public trust. Political parties must endorse ethics in real time and create a culture which enables their members to act ethically when executing their legislative mandate, especially those sitting in the Ethics Committee. In the legislative sector, integrity means that lawmakers and institutions supporting democracy must uphold the Constitution and the rule of law without any compromise. There is no discretion here. We need to avoid deception or concealment of wrongdoing or ethical conduct. We need to maintain consistency between their public duties and also private conduct. Resist undue influence, corruption, or conflict of interest. Undue influence, we see it by accepting gifts that might be compromising to the member, because we always say there is no free lunch. Definition in simple terms: integrity is the quality of being honest, consistent, and guided by strong moral and ethical principles, even when doing so is difficult or inconvenient. It is also the state of wholeness or coherence, where a person or institution's actions, values, principles, and commitments form a consistent whole. It rejects hypocrisy, double standards, secretive actions, and also corruption. These are the key considerations that we have discussed that shaped our resolutions. Foundations of integrity in lawmaking: we should always uphold the supremacy law, which is our constitution, and also the bills the Bill of Rights. Always put public interest first. The law must serve citizens, not personal or party politics. Ethical conduct. Legislators must always uphold the highest standard of ethical behavior and professional ethics. Transparency. All the actions that legislatures do should be open to the public. We see in the legislature, the sittings are open to the public and also to the media. We need to keep clear records. Hansard and information must always be accessible. And also the GPL website must always be up to date, and also other institutions, other spheres of government, that is a local government and in parliament also. In terms of accountability, members should always declare their interests in time and also avoid conflicts of interest. And we are saying that sanctions should be implemented for breaches. Effective oversight committee maintain the integrity of lawmaking processes and maintaining the credibility of implementing laws. Public participation must always be promoted. It should not be a tick box exercise, and it should be inclusive and also take cognizance of civic responsibility. Checks and balances, we have our Chapter 9 and Chapter 10 institutions, which are watchdogs to make sure that service delivery is implemented accordingly and to make sure that laws are constitutional. And we also have the judiciary as another sphere that also makes sure that laws are constitutional, are just, and serve the interest of the public. And we also have the media, and not corrupted media. We had earlier on, there was a commission that dealt with the media. We need to have a media that is consistent, that is also objective, that also has the interest of South Africans at heart, that will oversee the implementation of the laws. We need to have safeguards against abuse. We have codes of conduct for members. We have the register of members' interest, which encompasses all declarations by members. This is made public for members to scrutinize what the public side that members have included in their declarations. And we need to also have solid whistleblower protection mechanisms. And I've spoken about enforcing the codes of conduct and sanctions for breaches. Outcomes of integrity in lawmaking laws should be fair, just, and constitutional, and should strengthen public trust in the legislature, and it should be visible in improved service delivery and improving the quality of life of our citizens. And also it should promote the rule of law and procedural integrity. Transparency and public participation. The Constitution requires public involvement in lawmaking processes. Public participation can take various forms, including public hearings, written submissions, petitions, and engaging with members of the legislature. What are the threats that we found in lawmaking? Political patronage and cadre deployment, influencing bills for party political gain rather than public interest. Corruption and lobbying capture, where vested interests manipulate legislative outcomes. Weak enforcement of parliamentary codes of conduct. Populist lawmaking, prioritizing short-term gain over constitutional consistency. Resolutions. Drafting of laws, debating them, and reviewing legislation requires technical and legal competence. Therefore, capacity building in this area is critical and should be compulsory for legislators on a continuous basis. Public participation as a tick box exercise needs to be reviewed to reflect the people's voice and to give them the assurance that they are heard by taking into consideration their concerns. Action plans and report back sessions should be made mandatory for all oversight visits. A dashboard on findings from oversight visits must be made mandatory in order to report on action taken and feedback sessions scheduled. You can see we had the chair of chairs in our meeting. Ethics should be practiced everywhere, starting at an early stage from home, because we say charity begins at home. And also here we are saying continuous compulsory training and education on ethics and integrity. And party leaders should make sure and take a register to make sure that their members attend those compulsory training sessions. Ethical challenges in constituency offices, that is the diversion of money from those offices and no accountability. We need to have clear accountability mechanisms on how legislators spend the constituency funds. Fiscal dumping needs to be seriously looked at, and it must be constituted as a crime as it opens up corruption. Vacancies, this relates to vacancies within the administration and also departments. Vacancies should be filled immediately in accordance to the appropriate policies and frameworks. Active positions comes with lack of accountability, and when there is lack of accountability, that opens up to corruption, and it compromises also processes. Budget implementation should be linked to approved projects and programs. Oversight should focus on this, and deviations should be followed by consequence management. And we always know that the buck stops with the accounting officers. So accounting officers need to be, there must be eyes on the accounting officers, and they must be held accountable. Political parties should include in their political education programs ethics training, and they should be held accountable for breaches by their members. Members should internalize the oath of office they take and maybe consider reviewing it if it does not make ethical sense. Attendance of ethics induction of members, okay, I've spoken about this, that should be made mandatory. Code of ethical conduct should be revised on a regular basis to take into account evolving ethical and integrity dilemmas. And finally, legislators should have the courage to suspend legislation during public hearings if it is not supported by the public. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Integrity Commissioner and the head of Commission 1 that was deliberating on the integrity dynamics of lawmaking in the legislative sector. And I think, yeah, we can give the Commission another round of applause. It does help. It's part of the exercise to keep us active and keep us, you know, more especially after the shift that we come from. We're practicing for the evening when Bafana score goals, you know. So we can sleep more. Yeah, so like I said, we will not be taking any questions or any further inputs. The Commission's report will be shared and will be included in the overall summary of all the recommendations for this particular summit. So the report will also be shared with all of us, including those that were not in the Commission itself. So the next rapporteur will be from the second Commission that dealt with the topic on regulating the integrity of artificial intelligence in the health sector. The Commission was led by Councillor Mashabela. I understand she's not present at the moment, but that is a representative of the Commission, or the Deputy Chief Whip, Honorable Mokhobe, will lead the report of the Commission. Over to you, Deputy Chief Whip.
Thank you so much, Tate Ralph Chilwani, Program Director. Just to respect time, Deputy Speaker, Chair of Chairs, let me respect all protocol that is here in the House. Of course, we had to step in to then at least be able to report. So we're focused on regulating the integrity of artificial intelligence in the health sector. And I think we thought that maybe would start to break down with analysis, of course, of our current situation in the province, and of course, maybe you might say in South Africa in general. And I think we believe that if you don't analyze the situation or our current conditions in South Africa in terms of AI, will not be able to regulate artificial intelligence in the health sector. And for us, it is important that you know that we have remote areas, we've got townships, we've got areas that we believe that in terms of equality and the social standing of our people in the province are not the same. So meaningly, you'll have to analyze regulating AI, also dealing with issues that speaks to equity. But of course, because we had to step in, I think, in terms of this analysis, so that I don't waste time, members of the committee will then assist in doing the analysis. So we'll focus now on what the WHO principles focus on in terms of HI. And I think the principle speaks to, the first principle speaks to, there are 6, speaks to protecting, of course, the autonomy. The second one speaks to promoting human well-being, human safety, and the public interest. The third one speaks to ensure that transparency, explainability, and inter-eligibility is covered as we regulate AI. The fourth one speaks to foster responsibility and accountability. Of course, here, I mean, you won't keep the machines to then be able to account. There must be a human being or personnel that will then be held accountable in terms of ensuring that the machines are guided in terms of the ethics standards we want. The fifth principle speaks to ensuring inclusiveness and equity. So as we regulate AI in the health sector, will also speaks about then who is will then be able to access these healthcare services. Then of course the sixth one will then, it speaks about promoting AI that is responsive and sustainable. And of course, in analyzing these principles, the implementation of these principles and human rights obligation into practice, all stakeholders in the health space would then be, there would then be a need that there's awareness that is given to them so that everyone understands these principles and ensure that everyone is able to work together, integrate ethical norms at every stage of a technology design, development, and deployment. And of course, for us, we believe that this is important. In terms of our observations by the Commission, and of course, challenges that we might come about, is that with regard to regulating AI in the healthcare, there is a lack of integrity in machine-made decisions than human-made decisions. And this speaks to the point I was speaking to, that when we go to resolutions, we'll then speak to people who must then be able to account in terms of monitoring the machines. Of course, another observation is that South Africa lacks AI regulation, but a national policy framework emphasizes ethical guidelines and risk-based strategy for AI. Meaningly, when we go to resolutions, we'll then speak to advocating for South Africa to then finally have AI regulations to then be made illegal. Then our observations then speaks to challenges with accessing the medical services in South Africa, and that speaks to the rural areas and of course the previously disadvantaged areas that we have in the country and in the province. Then in terms of resolutions that I think we made, is that we said that it is critical to regulate AI in the healthcare to ensure patient safety, protection, and privacy. Based on the WHO principles, it is essential to have regulations of AI in the healthcare to then be able to protect patients. With regard to SANEC and HPCSA ethics, it is critical for these two bodies to monitor implementation of healthcare delivery using AI. These two statutory bodies must then be able to conduct oversight over healthcare facilities and be accountable towards the strategies. So we need to capacitate these bodies to then conduct that particular oversight. We then said it is important to incorporate AI into nursing curriculum so that nurses are able to analyze and interpret results produced by the machine accurately. The training should then include the impact of AI on the implementation of nursing and healthcare delivery. And I think when we deliberated on this is that currently we might have nurses, of course, who might have been long in the system. And of course, because of technology keeps on changing, they might not understand certain machines. And of course, the new generation or the younger generation that is in colleges must then be made compulsory that they are made to understand the new technology that we have or AI that we might have in the country so that they are able to implement and at least we are able to have human personnel that will then be able to account in terms of the operating of these machines that we have. Regulations are needed for the operation ability of the AI machines, but there are currently no standards or SOPs in facilities. And this was the concern of the committee that each health facility must have SOPs according to the type of machines they utilize. Then we spoke about aligning AI in the healthcare with the WHO principles. For us, we believe that it is critical to align AI in healthcare sector with the WHO principles so that we ensure autonomy and promote the well-being of our patients. So we need to ensure that all our hospitals in the province, they uphold these particular principles. We then resolve that it is important to assess AI safety in the healthcare to healthcare professionals, that they are aware of potential risks and side effects related to AI use, so that we don't use machines, these machines will then produce problems in future for the patients. So we'll then become a government that put its citizens to risk while we're saying we're resolving their healthcare problems. Then we believe that it is essential to regulate the medical costs in South Africa to improve equity and accessibility for all, regardless of the socio-economic status. And I think this would be the big debate we currently have in the country around issues of NHI and how do we ensure that to access medical care or health care systems in the country or in the province is not that expensive. And of course, when you then check who is then able to access the best health care. The poor of the poorest are then in trouble in terms of this particular process. And of course, the last resolution will then speaks to, with regard to AI development, access and sustainability in healthcare. We also said it is critical to maintain and manage current infrastructure, including internet connections for inclusive and equitable access to AI services. And I believe that these were our observations and, of course, our resolutions. But I think we'll then have the analysis that we then thought it is important to present to plenary, because these resolutions will then be coupled with this analysis. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. The laptop, I'll use it to balance my paper. This way. Thank you very much, colleagues. As you would know, Uguti, Department of Health in Gauteng, when it comes to litigations, yeah, we are the most paying in the country. So we thought about what is the current situation. We do not have any regulations in terms of AI. I think in South Africa, therefore affecting us in Gauteng as well. So what do we rely on right now in terms of performing whatever AI techniques we're currently doing in various hospitals? I will talk to those as well. We're using your POPIA, the act that talks to regulating the processing of personal data, Reuser Consumer Protection Act, Electronic Communications and Transaction Act, your National Health Act, your ethical and professional regulations. So you will imagine, Uguti, as a country or in Gauteng, we don't have regulations that are actually specific to AI. But we do have AI operations that we do. For instance, you would know your MRI, your magnetic resonance imaging machine. That is AI. You would know your computed tomography, your CT scans. That is MI. There is a lot already that we are doing in hospital, various hospitals. That is a tertiary level that actually talks to AI. But what I will now dig into is to say, when we do these regulations, truth be told, who should be involved? Because AI colleagues, if we don't involve everyone who needs to be involved, then who do we blame during the time of errors? So when we do this, you will definitely have to have a multidisciplinary collaboration. You'll have your technologists, your ethicists, your clinicians, your health workers, your policy makers, which is us, your society as at large. And I'm also thinking that maybe as Gauteng department, we also need to have a medical ethics committee that will actually check and talk to all our AI, medical AI projects, ne, to check compliance with those regulations that we would have developed. So what is critical here is that during that motion, we really have to ensure that principles like respecting the privacy and the rights of your patients in terms of choosing, you know, or having informed consent with your patients. And remember, the issue of informed consent, the trick with it is that many people are really desperate in hospitals. They just sign because bamo haungwa were the medical doctors at that time, and they actually want to get well very soon. So people sign these informed consents without actually even understanding. So imagine a time when you have such a patient who signed, but they did not really understand the impact or the role of AI in their medical care. And then at the end of the day, when things goes wrong, you don't know who to blame. The company, the doctor, the hospital, the patient, or the machine itself. So we really need to be careful when we talk about informed consent. And another thing, what I'm talking to right now talks to proper communication, integrity of the information in the consent form, and ensuring that we properly communicate what is required or what is going to happen with the patient. So I just want to add few concerns, you can call them challenges, if you want, to what we already have. So with AI, it's very tricky. We know that in other advanced countries, AI performs the operation alone. But with us, because we'll be starting, definitely we need to ensure proper training, and training of everyone who will be involved in those operations. So that is very, very, very critical. And another issue that we need to actually consider is that one of ensuring that there's human oversight, which is what I'm talking about, and making sure that all clinicians must validate any AI recommendations. This will assist us a lot, as I've said, in terms of medical legal cases in Gauteng. Of most importance is making sure that any clinical decisions using AI in healthcare needs careful validation. So what we need is robust clinical trials before we even actually say we are confident as Gauteng that these complex AI models, we can actually interpret them, we can actually succeed with this mode of medical utility. So I think I've covered everything that we actually wanted to talk to. So yeah, it's something that we need to really be careful as Gauteng Department of Health when we talk AI, when we come up with these regulations, and specifically ensuring that we know what we do. We are ready as a country. We are already doing certain processes using AI, but doing the big specialized AI operations will require us to actually sit down and plan accurately and make sure that we are ready. And when I'm saying ready, I'm talking about no moratorium that must be announced during that period, because we will be in danger. Imagine if a specialized AI medical practitioner leaves Bara and there are operations that must be done. We are doomed. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much from our second commission that dealt with the topic on the regulating of integrity of the artificial intelligence in our healthcare sector. And you can tell the passion from the commission, from the two honorable members that were here, you know, with the issues that they raised and the recommendations that they're making. Indeed, there is a lot of work that needs to be done going forward in terms of ensuring that this space, there are no gaps in this particular sector as and when we invoke the artificial intelligence. And I will then be going to our third commission that was looking at the topic around making political party funding makes ethical sense. That was led by Advocate Alberts as well as Honorable Evans. So the platform, it's theirs. I have seen their report. It's not quite lengthy, and I know Honorable Alberts stick to time. He's very smart in terms of ensuring that he saves some time for the honorable members and colleagues that are here. So I will be giving over to him to present the report from this particular commission. Over to you, Advocate Alberts.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Thank you very much, Chairperson. As indicated, our theme was making political party funding make ethical sense. It was co-chaired by member Al Evans, and we had as an expert from the IEC, led by Mr. George Mathlangu and his team. So in essence, the question that we started off with, that we still are trying to answer, and we've discovered a lot of questions without proper answers as yet during the process, but we will invite, we've decided to invite the IEC to a meeting of the Chair of Chairs Committee, as well as this committee, the Privileges and Ethics Committee, to enlighten us more about a report that they have created. It's a 4-year review of the Political Party Funding Act and the experiences in it, which will answer a lot of our questions that have not been answered as yet today, because many of the members raised many issues. This is a very interesting and contentious theme that needs more time to address properly. So the one question that we have is, where do you start with ethics and compliance? Many people think that when you comply with the law, you've complied with your ethical obligations as well, but that's not necessarily so, because there might be matters that's not addressed in law that you would become faced as a political party. And the question is, do you do the right thing, or do you ignore your conscience just because it is not law and you can act within that vacuum? And that's something that needs to be addressed, and there needs to be more training in that respect for parties, but also more awareness for political party members, but also the public at large, that there are ethical issues as well, and not only compliance issues in terms of the law. Then we discussed the multi-party democratic fund, which is the fund where money is paid, donations are paid into this fund that for people or donors that don't want to submit or don't want to donate to a political party. This will go into this central fund, which is a neutral fund. But this fund is not very successful because most donors give directly to political parties. And we need to address how we can ensure that there are more funds being donated into the neutral fund, because the IEC can then embark on various programs to ensure inclusivity and equity. In other words, to ensure that those people who are, groups of people who are still sidelined can be pulled into the democratic system. The question also was, how do you hold political parties accountable when they fail to declare, and how do you enforce non-declaration? And that will be answered later on in this report. But there's also an issue that was raised regarding capacity issues. The IEC's unit that manages the Political Party Funding Act are only 7 people, and they managed all the political parties, and there's 511 of them registered at the moment. And they have to make sure that they manage all of them across the country. And this unit does not have any representation within the provinces as well. So that is a problem we need to address, and we will do that when we meet with them again. So a question was raised, how can donations be made ethical? And the example used was, if one person donates to more than one political party, is that ethical, or can a person be allowed to donate only to one specific political party? And political parties should also be transparent when receiving funding in the name of donations. And another question that was raised in that respect is, and that's something we can't really see, is how are the donations actually spent? Are they ethically spent, or how does the party take this money and use it that they received from donors? A few other issues raised as, how do you detect funding not disclosed by political parties? How do you spread public awareness regarding the laws and ethics? What determines the threshold of forming a political party? There was a discussion around that political parties can be formed much too easy. And the IEC responded that they are aware of that, but they cannot go outside the law themselves. The IEC is a creature of statute, and therefore they can only implement what they have been empowered with in terms of their constituent law or constituent act. And if we want to make changes regarding the ease of registration of new political parties, we need to take it up as political parties on a national level to change the act specifically. Then there was then, of course, the proposals regarding the threshold that needs to be changed, and we will discuss that in future. And basically, ethics must play a major role when funding parties, and that's a training issue. And then also, lastly, there must be a simplified compliance system that all parties can work with, because some parties are very small and they do not have the capacity to comply with all of the systems, and so it needs to be simplified in some way. The responses from the IEC was as follows. as I said before, the IEC operates within the ambit of the law with regarding to parties' registrations, and the threshold and so forth are laid down in the law itself, and the IEC cannot change that. We will have to lobby to make changes in that regard if we believe it is necessary. And then there was the benchmark mentioned. Other countries only allow 10 parties to register to take part in elections, but we know that we cannot stop parties from being formed because that will be unconstitutional. But we need to make sure that parties are registered for real reasons, and that they actually do have the capacity to participate in the elections, but also to participate in the laws laid down for them. And then secondly, the IEC noted that they have taken over 400 parties to the electoral court for lack of transparency and won the cases in each case, and mostly it was about failure to submit the audited financial statements. In that regard, and after submissions made and some discussions, and we didn't finish our discussions, as I said before, we made the following resolutions. We will invite the IEC to the Ethics and Privileges Committee and during the Chair of Chairs Strategic Review session to come speak to us and submit their 4-year report on a Political Party Funding Act, upon which we can engage with them regarding all of these issues. 2, consideration needs to be made on the IEC's capacity to carry out its mandate. That's something that's quite worrisome because it does seem that they do not have quite the capacity to fulfill their own mandate in terms of the law. Third one, intensify awareness campaigns around ethics and compliance. So there are already campaigns like that that's being implemented, but they need to be intensified so that political parties take note of them and that the broader public can also take note of them. And that's very important because the public must have trust in the system, in the electoral system. And therefore, they must also have trust in the IEC and in political parties specifically. And the IEC has noted that there's a report that was a research report that was submitted to them from the HSRC that indicates that one of the reasons that people do not want to vote anymore, do not want to participate in the system anymore, is because of the view that they believe political parties abuse the money that is given to them. And of course, well, also that political parties are subservient to the people who donate money to them and that they are therefore influenced by the money that's given to them. And then lastly, the 4th resolution, which is the last one, political parties must ensure that they adhere to ethical standards and practices. Moreover, they need to be custodians of ethical conduct to their party members, offering periodic training. So political parties must also internalize the various laws that's applicable in terms of the elections, but also the ethical matters and the ethical issues that might become pertinent and are raised as a practical matter during their work as political parties, and make sure that people understand what ethics mean, to make sure also that they are implemented within political parties themselves. And then political parties themselves also then will have a obligation to train their own members and the public at large themselves to assist the IEC. And that's everything. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, Advocate Alberts, and thank you very much for all the contributions from the team. And I think, as I indicated, you did assist and saved us some time. And without any waste of time, we will not also recap, but indeed there is quite some work that needs to be done, and I think all those recommendations ensuring that there is collaboration and ensuring that GPL continue to work with the IEC, we will be able to ensure that this work is carried forward. So I will be calling upon the last commission that was engaging on the topic of core governing and regulation of lobbying in the public service. The commission was led by Honorable Ngobeni as well as Honorable Ntseke. I was not informed. I think either both will share the 6 minutes, 3 each, as we progress towards the tail end of our program. We still have plus minus 3 items after this. So yes, this is the last report from the Commission. Over to you, Honorable Ngobeni.
No, thank you very much, Ralph, and good afternoon to everyone. We're going to be quite quick. We've got a report which we will submit accordingly. We will take both myself and my colleague will have a bite on this. Let me indicate, colleagues, that this session was tasked to deal with core governing and regulation of lobbying in public service. And we had colleagues that were assisting us, the respondents, Tate Mabuza from GIAC, and Tate Mavuso from Public Service Commission. But it's important that I must indicate that we had other contributors in our panel, and that was Tate Seth Mazibuko from the Moral Regeneration Movement, Honorable Viswa Gentile, who's the chair of the Petition Committee in the legislature, and then we also had Alderman Alan McLaughlin, who's the Speaker of Midvaal Municipality. We want to thank them for their contribution in putting together this report, and we also pass our acknowledgement to the reporters, and that Mabuza, Bongan Mabuza, and Anthony Malapan. Chair, Mensekhe will outline the resolutions we have taken in regards to this issue of lobbying. You know, Deputy Speaker, I was looking at the organization that is called Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD. This is an intergovernmental body that was founded in 1961 in Paris. And when I was just researching quickly to check what was what actually triggered the establishment of this organization. So apparently in around 2000, there was a wave of corruption and influence peddling scandals in several member states of OECD. And this included undisclosed lobbying by officials, what we call the revolving door problem, where they will resign and then they will lobby for the private companies when there's tenders and other things. There was corporate interference in public procurement. There was a policy capture in the energy sector, in defense, in infrastructure sector. So these were the problems that they had in this member states. But if you look at it, these are the challenges that we have ourselves in our country. So what they did then in response to that, they came up with a framework which was going to assist them to deal with this challenge that they were currently having that time. And they adopted a global standard that was adopted in 2010, and that really guided them. The objective of that was to ensure that there is equal and fair access to government decision making, to promote transparency and disclosure of lobbying activities, and to safeguard integrity of public decision making, and also to strengthen implementation and oversight mechanisms. So that was what they managed to put together. So
we are going to recommend that we, in Gauteng, we sort of follow the steps of what these countries did way back in around 2010, of coming up with our own really framework of regulating lobbying that is happening and unregulated at the moment in Gauteng. So in our conversation with the team that I've mentioned, we explored the intersection between co-governing and the agent need for a framework for lobbying, as I've said. And we looked at the context of Gauteng, which is marked by public-private partnership. We've got mega projects in infrastructure. We also have coalition governments in our province. So the discussion really highlighted how unregulated influence undermines ethical governance. And actually, sometimes it distorts decision-making and it weakens even the trust that the public will have on government. So our colleagues who were in the room with us, they emphasized that co-governing, particularly in this context of what we were discussing, was not really referring to political coalitions, but we infused the political coalition because Gauteng, as I said earlier on, we have coalition governments here, and we have seen how coalition dynamics in municipalities have also had a strain when it comes to ethics and how it has actually affected the administration in many of the municipalities. So I will stop here and ask my colleague Mary Fulenseche to come and outline some of the challenges we identified, but also go at length in regards to the resolutions that we are proposing that we need to then take forward for further engagement. Because I was saying earlier on to one of the colleagues that when we come up with resolutions from this summit, they must be implementable. It must not be academic things that unfortunately will not be implemented because the law doesn't allow. So we try to come up with resolutions that are anchored by the law, the constitution of our country, but also the Public Service Act, because we had Tate Mabuza there in the house. But we also have, GIAC, which is obviously an ethics body in our province that also guided us on how we can be able to do so. So you'll actually realize that when she tables the resolutions are resolutions that are implementable. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Co-Chair. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Acting Speaker. This is an incredible session, if I can say so. In terms of our recommendations and key resolutions, in the interest of time, I'm not going to read every constitution section or go through all the legislations that we believe could also guide some of these key resolutions. In some areas, there's an absence of legislation, so we are advocating for new legislation to be established. So the first resolution is to establish a provincial register for lobbyists. We develop a lobbying code of conduct, institutionalize transparency in decision-making, strengthen ethical oversight and enforcement, embed OECD principles in cooperative governance, promote public awareness and participation, professionalization and ethical leadership, develop a legal framework or guidelines that give civil society teeth as an extra oversight over government, because we feel they've been missing too much in this space. We need to develop an ethical barometer, with ethical being the operative word. We need to assist and to ensure that communities are assisted to develop an election charter that, instead of politicians dictating what they need, they tell us what we need, what they need. So when we achieve these recommendations and key resolutions, we will, in fact, do the following. We will be protecting public funds from abuse and patronage. We will be rebuilding public trust. We will be preventing policy capture. We'll be preventing paralysis in our systems. We will ensure that there's on-time quality service delivery. We will attract competent public servants into public sector versus now. We will investigate and resolve issues that make it difficult for ethical conduct that include consequences. We'll be lobbying. We will ensure that lobbying should focus on public interest and not politicians' interests. All this said, Gauteng will have institutionalized transparent and ethical lobbying that strengthens democracy and restores public trust, which is so needed. And I want to say for session 7, we had an incredibly robust team in the room. I think co-chair has already said so, but I want to reiterate, thanks for the robust discussions. And I assume all the other sessions were as robust. And indeed, these recommendations cannot just be a piece of paper. Acting Speaker, I really hope we can start working on implementing these and writing new legislation where there are gaps in law. We thank you very much. And good luck to the teams playing this afternoon.
Thank you very much, honorable members, the leaders for the 4th commission. And indeed, it was a great work that has been done. And I think majority of the submissions from various commissions, they also require, amongst others, that we go back to the project that we started as Gauteng to develop what we term the integrity bill for the country, because we would have engaged with Parliament, and I'm glad the chairperson of the joint committee of the National Assembly and NCOP is here. So that was a national project that needs to be resuscitated, because some of the issues that require, that we have a legislation to regulate around the issues of integrity. They may require that we relook into that particular project and make further inputs and take some of these issues forward, because you will be told at some point that some of the issues, they require national legislation. But as trendsetters, I guess, we are in the right, position to be able to influence that particular process and ensure that we see this particular legislation being adopted before the end of this particular term. So we have come to almost towards the tail end of our session. I will be inviting the acting speaker, our Deputy Speaker, who's also the chairperson of the Privileges and Ethics Committee in the legislature, to come and render the closing remarks. In some sessions, they call it vote of thanks, to acknowledge and thank all those who managed to come and engage in this robust debate over the period of 2 days. It was not an easy 2 days, and you could see the teams, all the teams have done pretty much well in terms of ensuring that they respond to the issues and the challenges that was given to them. And after that, there are 2 more items that we'll announce shortly after the closing remarks. Over to you, Acting Speaker.
Indeed, it has been a difficult, long 2 days, but very fruitful. Afternoon, Let me acknowledge Chair of the Joint Committee on Ethics and members interested National Parliament, Honorable Joseph Hendrik Brits, PSC in Gauteng, Mr. Vusmuzi Mabuza, members of the Gauteng Provincial Legislature, speakers from all our municipalities in Gauteng, integrity commissioners, respondents to our various sessions planned for this summit, the staff of the legislature. We would not have had all this without those colleagues, I must say. We easily skip and forget them, but really we are here and have this good program that we've held because of their dedication. They started this way back when it was still a concept. Up until where we are, it's because of the work, sleepless nights and everything else that came with it, the sweat that they brought into it. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, my colleagues in the committee, I want to thank you as well. We started just as a concept discussing. It has not happened as we know, but we ended up having it. Thank you for showing up, all of you that showed up. I have thanks speakers from municipalities as well. The 2 days sitting here when they could have been doing a whole range of things. So izandla zidlula ikhanda. So I'm even repeating myself in acknowledging you, because I did not think we will get this far and come to the end of it. Much thanks, Ralph, Nawe, Enkos, members of the legislature yet again, those who are not in our committee, for taking the time to come and give us support as a committee. Thank you. Honorable Gentil, I did not see you there. And many others, Honorable CD, Abayan Babon Banda said, don't think I'm not factional on this one, I'm just, our malas are obvious. Honorable Mkwanas, Kaba, Obi, yeah, no Honorable Mkwanas, but otherwise, yeah, that's why I'm either isolating you or repeating myself. We have journeyed together on the past 2 days under this fundamental theme, reflections and projections on Gauteng ethical governance ecosystem. You will agree with me that our 2025 Gauteng Ethics Summit, we all realize that politics and public service can no longer reject or ignore ethical challenges, however they may be handled. And from the outset, it is important to remember that there are 4 fundamental values underpinning the practice of politics that must always be realized. 1 is the limitation of power. 2, effective governance. 3, accountable and transparent government. 4, it's justice. Although to some, in space of democracy, ethics and integrity in politics seems to be a contradiction, even though many politicians and public servants try to give their best for the common good of our province. Ethics and integrity in politics are not only desirable but possible. Oh, I'm not audible. Sorry. Where's the thing that you had here, Ralph? Anyway, let me proceed. Okay. Thanks, Ralph. Esteemed guests, apologies for that. Esteemed guests and delegates, ethics and integrity are, metaphorically speaking, 2 sides of the same coin. However, today the world and South Africa are over at the crossroads. Citizens want a serving state, not a predatory or a vampire state run by a self-serving clique of politicians. What passes for integrity, ethics, and transparency and accountability in politics and in public life is much diminished. There is less expectation of honest, forthright, morally committed behavior, and so everyone takes less notice when these virtues are absent. Yes, vampires. What this summit has taught us through commissions, esteemed delegates, is that in essence, democracy is about the use of power and the management of conflict, a set of political institutions, and process based on principles of popular control over public decisions and decision makers, and equality of voice between citizens in the exercise of that control. Delegates, all delegates, as the chairperson of Privileges and Ethics Committee of the Gauteng Provincial Legislature, I'd like to make one aspect very clear, that there are no blueprints for democracy. since all countries' political institutions and practices are shaped by its own historical, cultural, social, and economic background. Esteemed guests, we have to acknowledge from this summit that democracy cannot thrive without basic conditions of human security, a civic political culture that allows for the rule of law and the protection of basic freedoms, a common sense of national sovereignty, citizenship and nationhood, and a supportive regional and international environment. But then also again, ladies and gentlemen, this summit would have noted that throughout the nuanced deliberations we had, there is one but paramount point that we all agreed needs to be realized, and that is a democratic government requires functioning institutions, a parliament or a legislature that represents the people, not one controlled by the presidency or the executive or the bureaucracy, an independent judiciary that enforces the rule of law and where every person is equal before the law, well-functioning political parties, and accessible media that is free, independent and unbiased, not controlled by the state or corporate interests. A vibrant civil society, one that can be a watchdog over government and interest groups and provide alternative forms of political participation. A report emerged from this summit will be tabled in the House in the next 3 weeks. That report will usher continued debates as it will publicly be accessible for continued summit resolution tracking. This was a concern that citizens of Gauteng had in the platforms that we engaged them in, and it also came up I think in commissions or even amongst members. I think members just did it now, or rather raised it now. So this is how we, amongst many ways, and platforms we'll table a report in the sitting, but we'll go back as well to the platforms we used yesterday in communicating what it is that we are doing here. This then it's like conscientiously, unequivocally demands that we ensure and guarantee proper implementation of these resolutions at both provincial and local spheres of government in Gauteng. Esteemed delegates, as I conclude, this summit commits to firm adherence to code of ethical values which underpin the principle of integrity. This principle is the quality of being honest, being incorruptible, showing a strictly honorable demeanor and uprightness or probity in character, and exhibiting strong moral principles and behaving with a strong sense of integrity in all matters of public life. The summit also notes that at the core of the integrity is authenticity, truthfulness, sincerity, lucidity, and commitment to the cause, objectivity and impartiality in decision-making, and ensuring that decisions are not influenced by nepotism, favoritism, other isms, and other improper motives, and all corrupt practices. The summit will never deviate from acknowledging that integrity is marked by selfless service based solely on public interest, demonstrated by honesty in the execution of public duties. The declaration of any personal interest that may conflict with public duties, transparency, and accountability to the public decisions and actions taken. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to forward my sincere thanks and appreciation to all of you delegates for your astute commitment to the cause of changing the conception of good governance in our province. This prism must importantly cascade to the youth sector. Where is the chair? Wambi? Oh, yes, no cookie jar statements now. I'd like to particularly thank all the discussion heads who facilitated the session, the honorable members of provincial legislature, the respondents who ensure that we remain a content and tactically driven summit, the speakers, mayors, and officials from our municipalities across the province, the integrity committee, the ethics committee, the officials, the IC. May you all remain ethical, and may our gods bless the people of Gauteng. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night, and good luck to Bafana Bafana. No statements, RC member Zonke Viragas. But otherwise, that was on a lighter note. Thank you very much. Hambani kahle bandasekhaya, and may your gods be with you for the weekend. Please enjoy. Thank you. ne?
No, thank you. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the closing remarks. Indeed, this is supposed to be our parting shot, but as indicated earlier, that the team would have put together what we term the Gauteng Ethics 2025 declarations. So we'll again, once more, I know you would have said your goodbyes and good nights and good luck, but we still need to go through the declaration of the summit. And fortunately, or the other way around, we'll request once more that you ascend, yes, the podium. You can come together, but yes, because they need to be signed, ultimately. They must also be signed, so they must be read into the record and be signed so that everyone can be part of it. You know, it's done in a transparent manner so that it's more of a pledge that we commit to and ensure that going forward, these are the commitments that we'll stick by. So yes, we'll request that you come back and do the same. Thank you very much. Over to you once more.
I should not have sat down, Ralph. I should have continued. Just as a preamble, esteemed guests and delegates, we the delegates gathered at the 2025 Gauteng Ethics Summit, convened by the Gauteng Provincial Legislature at Birchwood Conference Center, under the leadership of the acting speaker and chair of Privileges and Ethics Committee, acknowledge the critical importance of strengthening the ethical governance within the legislative sector and across society at large. Recognizing that ethical governance is the cornerstone of democracy, accountability, and public trust, we affirm our shared commitment to uphold integrity, transparency, and good governance as fundamental values guiding our work in public institutions and communities throughout Gauteng and South Africa. Context in which we operate in is that we note with deep concern that, like many other nations globally, South Africa continues to face significant ethical challenges, including corruption, abuse of power, and unethical conduct, which threaten to erode the moral fabric of our society, undermine the rule of law, and weaken institutions of democracy. This summit therefore served as a vital platform for legislators, governance experts, academics, civil society, and the media to engage in robust dialogue and collective reflection on strategies to strengthen ethics, integrity systems, and accountability mechanisms within the legislative sector. Deliberations that took over, that went over the 2 days are over. The course of 2 days, delegates deliberated on key themes including recent developments across South Africa's ethical landscape, the global impact of the push for economic and environmental justice, best practices for establishing and evaluating internal ethical channels within different spheres of government, approaches to risk mitigation in the legislative sector through informed decision-making, and building a common understanding of ethical governance in public service throughout the legislative sector machinery. We commit, therefore, and undersign that, one, we uphold the highest ethical standards in all our actions, decisions, and interactions within the legislative sector and beyond. Two, promote integrity, accountability, and transparency in governance. Three, strengthen institutional ethics framework to prevent corruption, conflicts of interest, and abuse of power. Four, foster ethical leadership and civic responsibility, recognizing that sustainable development and social justice depend on moral governance. Five, collaborate across sectors. Six, monitor and evaluate progress. In conclusion, in adopting this declaration, we reaffirm our determination to safeguard the moral fabric of society and to advance ethical governance as an enduring legacy for future generations. Together we stand united in in belief that a just, transparent and accountable legislative sector is essential for prosperity and dignity of all South Africans. I thank you. So this will be undersigned here by the chairman or chairperson rather on behalf of the delegates and of the committee. Thank you very much. Where are the people who must give this?
Oh.
Should I give this to them?
There's a team that will receive. And yes, thank you very much, honorable members and colleagues. We are now at the tail end of our program. But like I said, I think to some of the colleagues and honorable members that today is a Friday. So normally on a Friday we are in a good mood. There's always a spirit of gifting. And we thought it will be not correct to acknowledge as Africans and Gauteng Provincial Legislature everyone who has participated in this particular program, the program leads, the chairpersons of various commissions, and all the colleagues that supported in all the programs. Want to really thank you very much as well. The turnaround time in which colleagues were able to produce their reports, as well as ensuring that the program heads are able to table the reports within the short space of time that they were given. We really want to thank you very much as well. I must also say, from the desk of the program director, it was a very fruitful 2 days. Having a session with politicians and colleagues in supporting members of parliament and provincial legislatures as well as municipal councils might not be an easy task because usually the rules provides for point of order, and through observations we have seen that members do actually use point of order. And I'm glad that in these sessions members did not use the point of order. They kind of made contributions that shaped, the resolutions that we finally adopted and the declarations that we made today. So we are also going to once more have the last item. Basically, in this item is to share the token of appreciation with the commission heads as well as respondents and also those that would have presented yesterday. This is between yesterday and today. So that will then be our last item. I'm aware that the Deputy Speaker is currently outside, and the chairperson of committees, Honorable Bishop Adams, will do the honors in ensuring that all the program heads as well as respondents thereof. And to save more time, we will try not to call them one by one. We had today 4 commissions, yesterday 3 commissions, and the others that might not be present at the current moment, but we have their names and their reps, so they will receive all the token of appreciation on their behalf. So I will be giving over to Honorable Adams to ensure that that appreciation from the legislature is given to everyone. But like we said, we appreciate everyone who participated. The fact that we are not able to cater for everyone does not mean we don't acknowledge the the support and the participation. I think it's just the means available that we are able to only extend to this far that we are trying to stretch to. So Honorable Adams, yes.
It's the respondents and the leaders, the heads of the commissions. So I was the head of the first commission. Congratulations. Our respondents are not here. Are they here? Who's our respondents? All of them. All the respondents, please. Can you come? Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody. Let's once again give a hand clap to all the people that participated. Thank you so much to the support staff. I think you did exceptionally well, Lorato and your entire team. You did well. Thank you so much, everybody, all our support, the support staff, all the MPLs, all the speakers. Honorable Arnolds, thank you so much, ma'am. We appreciate you. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great evening.